Welcome back to Aggie Pride, a UC Davis football podcast. I'm Brock Galvin, and in this week's episode, I'll be joined by guest co-host Nick King and two new guests, Ari Osier, the Assistant Athletic Director of Equipment at UC Davis, and Carter Vargas, the standout freshman running back out of St. Joseph High School in Santa Maria. Awesome episode. Hope you guys tune in for the whole thing because tons of nuggets and insights from both of them that are really good. Also want to remind you that at this week's home opener, for those who purchase hats, we will have them for you to pick up. Also, make sure to like, subscribe, and share the podcast with a fellow Aggie if you're enjoying this. If you want early access to episodes and access to exclusive subscriber-only bonus episodes, you can subscribe for $5 a month on Spotify. All right, enjoy our preview and our interviews with Carter Vargas and Ari Osier. This episode is sponsored by Larison Real Estate Team, Bob and Jan Larison. You already know the name. They've been incredible supporters of UC Davis football, this podcast, and of course, they're Land's parents, now cheering him on as he suits up for the New England Patriots. Off the field, Bob and Jan are one of the top real estate teams in the region, helping folks buy and sell across Idaho and Eastern Oregon. Whether it's a home, land, or investment property, they bring experience, hustle, and heart to every deal. So if you're looking to make a move or just want honest guidance, check out LarisonTeam.com or follow them on Instagram at Larison Real Estate. Huge thanks to Bob and Jan for backing Aggie Pride. The Aggie Football Fund provides essential gap funding for the UC Davis football program, empowering the team to access vital resources for player development and program success. It also reconnects and engages former football alumni to maintain the legacy of Aggie Pride and perpetuity. Through direct and flexible support, the AFF bridges funding gaps while fostering a thriving alumni community. Visit AggieFootballFund.com for more information. Also, spend homecoming week with the Cal Aggie Alumni Association. Starting on October 8th, CAAA is hosting a variety of events, including the annual Friday Night Social at Sudworth Brewing. Check out all events at alumni.ucdavis.edu/homecoming. Welcome back to Aggie Pride, a UC Davis football podcast. I'm hanging out with my friend Nick King. Nick, how you doing?
Oh, I'm good. I'm trying to keep my voice a little low. I got my 9-month-old daughter in the other room behind me, but trying to also not hide the passion I have for after watching these games and excited for Saturday, man.
Yeah, dude, you're like becoming a coach through this podcast. I can already tell. Like you and Danny Alfaro, your level of just, effort, I would say, is top notch, which I love. And I think it's cool because we kind of broke it up where you focused on the offensive side of the ball. As you said, that was easier. I focused on the defensive side of the ball. And when we say focus, we're talking about Southern Utah, people, because this week we're finally back home at UC Davis Health Stadium, aka Shredville, playing the mighty Thunderbirds, which is a lame nickname, which is why I messed it up. And, it's a weird team. It's like one of 7 FCS schools in Utah. They're tough. I hated playing them. We lost to them a bunch when I was in college. I hate to admit that, but they were good back then. They won the Big Sky a year or two, or the Great West, or whatever the hell it was called. And so we got an interesting matchup, Nick, and we want to go over the details, the stats, the players to watch, the keys to the game, that sort of thing. But we also want to go over like the UC Davis side of things. So I think we will start with the Thunderbirds.
Yeah.
And we each watched some of their games. And so I think going over their 3 results is a good place to start. So week 1, which is really week 1, not week 0, they played an Idaho State team that literally almost ruined Dan Mullen's debut at UNLV in the Las Vegas Raiders Allegiant Stadium. Barely lost that game, could have won. Well, that Idaho State team goes to Cedar City and they kind of get blown up. And it's a theme that we're going to talk about. The offense for Southern Utah is hella explosive. You'll talk about all the different weapons and players there. So week 1, they're at home. They get the win. And then week 2, you think, okay, they're coming to USD, aka University of San Diego. Cindy Crawford's name is on the basketball stadium, but they have no scholarship money despite it being $1 trillion to go to school there. Of course, Jimmy Harbaugh started his head coaching career there, and they have a highly athletic quarterback, and he runs all over them.
Yep.
And the game somehow goes to overtime, but they pull it out, meaning the Toreros. And so all of a sudden, Southern Utah's 1-1. And then that takes us to this last week in, I'll give you the mic, one of the craziest games you feel like you've ever seen. So tell us about the Northern Arizona shootout.
Shoot, man. I mean, it was a shootout in Cedar City. Just fast forwarding, I mean, both offenses were just scoring at will. And all the way into the second half, Southern Utah was down, I think, 2 touchdowns. They already had a really nice kick return who was a redshirt freshman. And starting off in the second half, he returns it, ties the game. So they're going back and forth all the way into the fourth quarter. And they actually go up. And then NAU scores, ties it, decides to go for 2 with about 20 seconds left, makes it. So they're up by 2. Or up by 1, excuse me. Obviously, my mouth's not doing very well here late at night. And
50
then
to 49. Whoa.
50 to 40, there's 25 seconds left in the game. Southern Utah's been going all down the field. So you have all the confidence, especially being elevation, that they could kick a field goal. The returner, who already scored a touchdown, had a 50-yard return, bobbles it, goes in the end zone. And I still can't tell if he was trying to be cheeky and trying to sneak return it, or he just didn't realize that it was a live ball. But gets the ball in the end zone and gets tackled at the 2-yard line. So they have about 15 seconds left, trying to drive the whole field, and then ends up a holding penalty in the end zone for a safety. Game over.
Yeah, and it's just very, very FCS right now to see 3 results like this and kind of look at, other than North Dakota State, South Dakota State, Montana State, and maybe Tarleton State. Other than those 4 schools, FCS largely is like very hard to figure out right now. No one seems all that good. Anyone could beat anyone. Anyone can lose to anyone. That's the feel. And I think that's the hard aspect of like trying to figure out these games is that, Southern Utah, when we played them last year, and we've referenced this many times, like we thought they were not a good football team based on the previous year. Just like we might think that Utah Tech might suck based on last year's results. And yet they ended up almost making the playoffs. Delane Fitzgerald, their head coach, I talked about it last year, is like a mouthy, confident dude who is going to walk in like with his chest out. And I think they're a physical team. That's something that we'll hear from Carter Vargas later on is Coach Plow has communicated to our guys that like this team is physical. Like they might be giving up 35 points a game so far this year, but they're still pretty gritty and nasty up front on both sides of the ball. So we'll now get into kind of the breakdown per unit. This is a team that from the outside in, like on offense, seems much improved, and even Coach Plow in his weekly press conference that got released this Monday says they do a lot more on offense than what we saw last year with the Targi Lamson show. So, I mean, Targi Lamson, dude rushed for 2,000 yards essentially last year. He had 22. He's like just shy of 2,000. Bruising back, was the number 1 rated PFF running back at the FCS level. I don't know if he's in the league right now, but like this offense is not that offense. They still got a guy back there, but it's different. Talk to us about what you've noticed through these first 3 weeks.
Yeah, it's crazy. You actually mentioned that, and you just assume you look at the stats, and they have another running back who's has scored 4 touchdowns last year, or excuse me, last game, just running the ball at will. So when I came into watching film, I was like, okay, this is going to be a classic Southern Utah. You said big O lineman just going to grind it out. But that's not the case. They actually do a lot of passing to set up the run. And their offense reminds me a lot of Davis. So a lot of motion, a lot of shift, a lot of play action to create mismatches. And I think it all really focuses on a QB, Bronson Barron. You kind of talk about the chaos of FCS and FBS. He has a really interesting story. So starting at Weber State, took him to the playoffs, 10-win season, transferred to Western Kentucky. Don't know what happened there, but obviously he's back in Southern Utah. And this guy's a dude. I mean, he's experienced and incredibly dynamic. And what I like about him is that he can move around. There's some designed run plays, but he's all about moving in the pocket and waiting to play basically scramble drill. So there's a 50-yard touchdown. They converted, I'm not kidding you, 5 or 6 third and longs against NAU, which are just absolutely backbreaking. So he's fantastic at just moving the pocket, finding the open receiver. And so I was really impressed with him. And then to kind of touch on what we were just speaking on is that they have this running back, Joshua Dye, who came out of nowhere. If you look at the preview, they're talking about Braden Whistler, who's actually a really nice kind of receiving back, kind of like an Austin Eckler, RIP, with his Achilles. But this Joshua Dye character, he has 4 touchdowns this last game. He didn't really do much in the first half, but he keeps wearing on you. And then all of a sudden he breaks out, has a 50-yard run in the second half, has 4 touchdowns. So as I mentioned, they really set up the pass to then run, and then we'll really get their athletes in space. No burners for receivers. They're all more possession type guys. So that would be a concern to kind of go into of our DBs who I know are smaller. They have really great space. I think Nunez is really kind of the go-to in those third and long, but they're all about rhythm, just like in Davis. So if we don't disrupt it, they can score in bunches, as evident by the 3 games they've already played.
Yeah, and I remember like in years past, dude, we had a hard time with athletic quarterbacks. That was something that Dwight and I had talked about last year, and honestly, just throughout the years. I felt like when there was a dynamic quarterback, and I'm not really counting Damon Williams from Washington, but he did eat us up scrambling around. But
That's
his
putting
like, yeah, his athleticism feels so much next level compared to Bronson Barron.
with you.
Um, but that's something that's in my mind is like this guy, it's not like he's necessarily rushing for 80 yards in a game, but his legs are a part of it
Yeah.
and extending plays and scrambling around. And so I was really worried about that last year when we played Tommy Mellott in Montana State. And in looking back at how we put together a plan for that, Tommy Mellott didn't do anything with his legs in that game. And
No.
even their rushing game, which averaged like 280 yards a game or something crazy, like we held them to 170 or something like that, which is far below their standard for or their average for the year. So gonna be interesting. I think I will go through the Southern Utah defense, and then we'll kind of pivot back to the UC Davis offense,
Yeah.
and UC Davis defense and our keys for the game and what we feel like we need to see. But this defense last year when we played them, I want to say it was like a 24-21 game, physical. It felt like nothing was easy, but when you look back, like they gave up some yards, they gave up some points. I mean, they essentially gave up like 30 points a game as a defense last year, and this year there's the outlier of the Northern Arizona game, but even against Idaho State and UNLV, like they're giving up some points, or not UNLV, I should say. It was Idaho State, Northern
Hey,
Arizona.
San
Who was their
Diego.
third game? And San Diego. I feel like the defense has struggled,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
they play a lot of 30 front. They'll walk up a rush like we do in a lot of situations. They blitz a lot depending on the situation, but it feels like especially on any like third down, they're gonna try to bring some zone blitz. And I just feel like the player who stands out the most, and I don't know if he popped for you, was 52, the middle linebacker, Sebastian Adamski. He's got like 34 tackles in 3 games. He leads the team in TFLs. He leads the team in sacks. Like he is definitely the most dynamic guy on that side of the ball. He's a grad transfer, so he's from a first team all league from the Pioneer League, which is the same league that University of San Diego's in, one of the worst leagues in FCS football. But I mean, he flies around, he makes plays, and I think that he's going to be someone that our O line needs to account for in the run game and the pass game. Another guy to me that stood out in watching film was the Montana State transfer. So the safety, Blake Stillwell, who originally is from Florida, not the university. I've just played high school ball out there. He's someone who I think at times their DBs have been able to have decent coverage and make some plays. Um, there is one DN, and it's interesting. He's from a Sarah high school, but not the same Sarah as our boy Sam Goligoski. But he's like Sam in that he's really undersized. He's like a 215-pound DN, total speed guy. And he actually, I should correct myself, he leads their team in sacks. He had 3 last
Yeah.
week against NAU. And, you know, sometimes in FCS, like you have these guys who are either like a Princeton Toki, like, well, he's 350 pounds, but he's 5'10, or he's hella fast and he runs a 4.40, but he's 200 pounds playing D end, you know, and it's like there can be these little limiting factors as the reason why they're not at a power 4 school, and yet they still have some dynamic abilities. And so I think Lando Jones is going to be someone to look out for. And it's interesting to look at our defense because as I kind of round out some of their players to look out for is they have an Air Force transfer who's also a starter in the defensive backfield and started 9 games for Air Force or played 9 games for Air Force last year and had a bunch of PT for them. There's just a lot of movement from year to year, which I think is why it's hard to predict. Going back to like my initial point, you might have this team like Utah Tech that wins one game and then they clear house or people transfer out or vice versa. And even going back to this Southern Utah offense, like the running back, Dye, which I believe he's got a twin brother on the team, you want to mention, both transferred from UTEP. And I
Yeah.
think about our Josiah Allen transfer from UTEP and seeing like UTEP guys everywhere and also seeing UTEP be better this year. Like they competed really well with Texas. Like I watched a lot of that game. Like that was a decent game. That's a different team than what it was last year. Last year, UTEP was far inferior to this Southern Utah team we're playing. So it's just really hard to figure out for me, like what we can expect to see. But my kind of final point on their defense is this: one of the things that stood out about the 2 games I watched was the San Diego quarterback who had some big time scrambles, including like a 60-yard touchdown run. And what did that remind me of? We didn't get to see Caden Pinnock's legs at all against Washington.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at like pictures of him and watching highlights against Mercer and how we were all losing our mind at Dwight's house. Like, he's so dope. And I'm thinking like, how I didn't have any thought like that against Washington. Like the air was sucked out of the building. It was sucked out of the game. Like it was so hard to take anything positive from it. And so my hope as we look ahead, presented by BPMNJ. I think I said that right. Dear God, love you, Scott. If you need to look ahead and you need to plan for your life and get your trust in order, then you know who to call. Who are you going to call? Not Ghostbusters. You call Scott Judson and his team at BPMNJ, and they help you out. But I'm looking at this weekend, Caden Pinnock's legs. And I'm thinking that he's going to have some opportunities to flash that athleticism. So, Nick, let's look ahead to this Saturday's game now from our vantage point. What are your keys to the game, things that you think our offense can do to exploit, or because you're more familiar with the Southern Utah offense, things you think our defense is going to be able to
Yeah.
feast on?
So I'll start on the offensive, just Davis offensive side. So you mentioned it. Southern Utah is still trying to figure out their identity. They have a solid pass rush, averaging multiple sacks per game, which has obviously been a concern that we brought up about our pass blocking holding up. So that's a big piece. But the other thing you kind of alluded to is San Diego. They had 296 yards rushing, led up 52 to NAU with 140 yards rushing. So we should see a lot of our guys running the ball. I think that's a huge piece. I think the other thing that's super interesting, Brock, you mentioned is like we started week 0, so we were kind of behind the 8 ball of trying to understand what defenses were going to present to us. It sounded like Utah Tech had a brand new defense we were not expecting. Same thing with Mercer. We had no idea what to expect and how teams would react to Caden. So I think there was a little bit of push and pull of, hey, we unveiled this new Ferrari and teams didn't see it, especially with Mercer, but then they adjust and we didn't know what film to anticipate. So I really think the bye week is coming at a perfect time. We now have 3 games that we can watch with Southern Utah to see where their weaknesses are. And we know for a fact Plow and the offensive staff is licking their chops, rubbing their hands in the evil cackle, saying like, hey, we can probably gash them and then set up the run set up the pass like we've done with NAU. So I think it's going to be a fireworks on offense. And I think Kaden Pennick's going to get to the guy that we really saw week 1.
So I think now I want to take it to what we were talking about offline, and I'll give my thoughts on the Aggie offense and what I'm looking at in a moment. But you start to like watch film of a team and you see their strengths, and it's hard. Again, I keep throwing this out there. It's hard when there's different levels of competition. Like they're playing a non-scholarship University of San Diego team, and then they're playing a Northern Arizona team with like a returning quarterback and people who are like pretty high on Northern Arizona. And so it's difficult to figure out like where a team's at. With that caveat being aside, like you came into this a little bit more worried because of what their offense can do.
Yeah.
So talk to me just about like that. Like what does worry you about this team, and how do you think Southern Utah could exploit us?
Yeah. I mean, Brock, you hit it. We have a lot of burned memories of us as players getting beat by mobile quarterbacks, extending plays, whether it's running or looking to pass. So as a D end, that just scares me. So I think that's the big piece. And as a D line, what are we always taught with these type of mobile quarterbacks? You got to rush with control. So Barron is dangerous. And so we need to get pressure, which like I said, we're big fans of the D line. I think there's obviously challenges with UW. We weren't expecting much, but I think getting them at the right time is super important. So not only rushing them, but controlling in our lane so he can't step up to make those throws. The second piece, which I really think is a big factor, is, as we mentioned, Dye is a great runner, especially in the second half. He likes to bounce out. We have the Porter brothers, the linebackers, and the safeties. They're going to have to play disciplined football, rally up, and make tackles. I think that was been something that's been a little frustrating watching in the second half. The guys are a little gassed and missing tackles. They have a great second running back who likes to get out in space, whether it's screens, whether it's in the flats. So they're going to have to rally up and tackle. And then the third piece, I think this goes down to Coombs. As I've already called out, this quarterback is great. They have a great offense, and we got to disguise our coverages. We got to disguise our blitzes to make them hold the ball, pump it, so our D line can get there. So that's really what I'm hoping to see from the 3 different levels of the team.
Yeah, and we talk about special teams and kind of the herky jerky nature, and even Plow talked about it in his weekly press conference. Like there were positives in each of the 3 weeks, like the punt block this past week, the fake punt the week before, the punt returns. Like there's been positives each week, but there's been some pretty glaring negatives too. And so what kind of special teams performance are we going to get? And if this is a close game, which we both expect it might be, then that's always a deciding factor, man. Like we've seen it at the NFL level with the Niners too, and like already having to move off their kicker and stuff, and is a different situation with the Ags. Thank God, like Hunter's been dialed. I think it was a weird start to the year for sure, but I think
What's
he's finding his groove, and like the kick at Washington that's a good confidence booster to do it in that type of environment early in the game.
Yeah, no, I think you hit it. And as mentioned, special teams. I mean, this redshirt freshman is incredibly dynamic, and that also can kind of get in the head of the team too. I know
Yeah.
you're trying to kick it away, kick it out of bounds. We think this is going to be a close game, so that's something that I think we should be looking for: is how are we punting, how are we kicking, what are we doing? We're probably going to do some squid kicks. We're going to probably do a lot of different things, but that's a huge part of the game that I think we need to make sure we're on top of, and would like to see our teams get a little better at that.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the punting unit, I know Dylan Mauro is the guy right now. Um, which he had a decent punt on the Denzel Boston return. It's like it's 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 like a double-edged sword, as we know. Sometimes when you boot it, you're like, oh shit, we can't get done there in time. My keys, the things that I'm kind of looking at, and maybe it's because Carter Vargas is on the pod this week and he's kind of on my mind, but you hit it with the running game. I think on the offensive side of the ball, like what I'm looking at is the the message that we were told throughout the fall camp and beginning of the season was like best O line ever. We're going to be able to run the ball. We're leaning on the ground game. And we have had some explosive plays on the ground. I wouldn't say we've like run the ball dominantly up until this point. So this is a chance, like those extra reps, that little bit to get healthy with the bye week. This is a chance to like exert ourselves up front and at home when it probably is going to be hot and the Davis skies are maybe going to be a factor and just those beautiful cow smells and the students who are going to be sitting down, not cheering, but will be there at the very least. That's something. And if you're a student who's listening, we know you cheer. We're just saying, orientation. Some kids are just like getting walked in with their orientation leader with a flag. Have you been to one of these games, Nick, with the orientation flags? I don't know if you've been to
Uh,
a home opener. So
I,
I think this was a Hawk thing. They literally make the students go. They take them out of the dorms and make them go into the game. It's
good.
freaking brilliant. And so there's like 15,000 people at these games. Like it's going to be a dope environment. And
Awesome.
like 70% of them are like, what session am I in? I thought I'm in orientation right now. What do we call this? So I'm just kind of like, let's lean on them. Let's get the crowd going. Let's exert our will on the ground. And then, we wrote down in the notes like our quarterback situation. It's not like a situation. Caden Pinnock is the starter, but after last week, and I think Caden struggled in the first half against Utah Tech. Like we really want to see the Caden that we've seen glimpses of for 4 quarters, and that's always like the hardest part of coaching a team or being
Yeah.
an athlete at a program like that. Consistency from the first quarter to the fourth quarter. That's what makes a player great. We know he has all the tools, but that's what I'm really looking forward to is Caden using his legs against a vulnerable defense and then the backfield with the O-line combination. And if it opens up the pass game and for some of those speedy guys on the outside, the more the merrier. But we were told the message of we're going to be able to run legitimately this year. Like our ground game is going to be our strength, and we're going to have a bunch of explosive plays. We have a lot of speed, and so this I think is the first game where we have an opportunity to show that. Like this is a defense that's proven to give up big plays, right? And so this is another opportunity for them to do that. I do want to kind of, and you can respond to any of that, but I kind of want to take us to close to maybe some of our memories of like either home openers or even some of your Southern Utah memories, more of like that personal connection. I don't know if anything comes to mind for you
Of,
about
of
playing the
course.
Thunderbirds or about playing at the old Aggie Stadium back in the day for a home opener.
Of course, man. I mean, I have a love-hate relationship with Southern Utah. I think the hate part going to Cedar City, I think you can remember, it might have been our redshirt sophomore year. So taking the bus, flying to Vegas, then taking the bus. They still had their old facilities. So we're, changing in an old locker room, like their equivalent to Hickey, walking over, getting destroyed because they've always had tough teams, and then having to fly to Oakland, and then our bus is breaking down, just miserable travel. But on the flip side of that, my senior year, we played there, recorded a sack, got our first win. I actually looked it up. That was the first win at Southern Utah since 1995. So going down on a big, an awesome note for my senior year, beating Southern Utah. But they're a really tough team. Really glad to see them back in the conference next year. I wouldn't say they're a rival per se, but we're always playing them. They always play tough. They have some great athletes, some great players that are in the pros too. So I have a special place in my heart for how much I hated traveling to Cedar City, but enjoying how it ended up and looking forward to having them back in the big sky.
Yeah, I remember changing in their like weight room at the Eccles Coliseum, and they had those like Roman columns
That's
at
right.
the end of one of the end zones, and then you literally just change in the weight room overlooking the field, and you're like, "What the heck are we doing?" This weekend when I was watching the game Saturday night, I my wife is like, "What is that in the end zone?" And they literally had turned container bars or container bars, that's how I'm used to it.
Mhm.
Container like shipping containers, which we're used to like, oh, people are turning those into like bars outside of breweries and martinas. Well, they turned it into like on-field suites. And I said to Galen, if that's not the most like FCS Southern Utah thing, I don't know what is. But I think on the flip side, like us taking students into the game, forcing them to come into the game because of an orientation is the most UC Davis thing ever. But I love it. I think it's genius. Like it is such a
Yeah.
good idea. And I hope that students enjoy the game on Saturday. You know, my memories are of Brad Sorensen, who was like a 6'6" quarterback who ended up being a backup in the NFL for more years than I remembered.
Yeah.
Just dialing it up, dude. And I think I shared this last year on the pod. The guy talked so much shit during the
And our
game.
bodies. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, what? Like, what quarterback is this mouthy? And so, and I didn't say a word during games. I was like, just so quiet and focused. But that to me was like, dude, this guy is just throwing it all around the park on us, talking mad-ish. But yeah, I mean, I think for me, like, just very excited to see a home game, to
Yeah.
get to see, you know, buddies and get to be with you and hopefully some other guys and see what our guys do. I mean,
Yeah.
it's all there for us. This is the start of the real season is kind of how it feels for me. Just the way the season
Yeah.
worked out, like 3 games and then a bye and then this with the no contest. I'm like, all right, this our season's starting now. So I don't know if you have any kind of closing thoughts or if you want to dump any of your other notes that you feel like you wanted to get to about the game.
No, I mean, the only other thing you mentioned, it's kind of an interesting dynamic, hopefully giving a player anecdote for those that don't play. I mean, there's no denying that the Aggie fans, they're faithful, but they're not kind of showing up that we hope so. I'm looking forward to seeing this orientation of funneling them there. So there's actually a lot of pressure. I don't know if you felt this way, Brock, where it's like game one in front of students, we have to win because if you lose or you have a poor showing, they're not going to show up again. So it's kind of a unique pressure to make sure that we have fans in the stands. And so that's calling everyone out there, come to the games. They're doing some fantastic things. We have a great team. So that's one thing I thought of is, hey, let's have a good showing because that really dictates the rest of the season just from the atmosphere that we're putting so much in and you know, kind of creating that Shredville that Coach Plow was talking about. So that's one thing I really thought of for this first game. And then kind of going back and seeing all the teammates. I mean, we've had such a great connection here. Shout out to, you know, JG and Congdon and Pat Michelet. There's so many great alumni there. So I got a lot of shout outs when I did my first pod. Shout out to Danny Alfaro. I know all those guys are listening. So thank you so much for the support and hoping to keep this thing going. So Brock, again, wanted to thank you, man. I mean, this has been an outlet that we all have been desperately looking for. And following the rise of this program with Coach Plow, I think great things are ahead and I'm excited to see that all come together on Saturday.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun, and don't you think that I forgot, because we have an important piece of information to go through here. It's the Buckhorn Grill score predictions,
Of course.
and it is a very tricky game to predict, and yet I will give you a moment to think if you don't have yours already. Um, I do envision this as like a blow the door open type of game. I've been trying to put myself in the shoes of these guys who just got beat down by 60 in Seattle in a game that only 246,000 people watched it, Nick. It's not as many as we thought. Okay. We're talking like a mid tier MLS game at this point 246,000 people. Big Ten Network averages about 800,000 people per game during their earlier morning games. They put us on at 8 o'clock. Most of the country's asleep, praise God. And what the heck? I mean, you're not feeling good. You don't just wash it away like,
Yeah.
oh, we played a really good team. Like you're pissed. Like it's not a fun locker room. Like, oh, well, we just wanted to collect the check and be healthy. No, that is not how anyone feels in the program. Sometimes we might say something like that, but like we are competitors. A lot of those guys are like, F that. I want to play at Washington, or Washington offered me at some point, or that was
Yeah.
my dream, whatever the goal is. And so I don't think Coach Coombs or Coach Plow or anyone involved with the program is like coming home like, all right, like here we go. Let's keep the momentum up. I think it's like a fire in the belly type of effort. And I think that blows the doors off of a defense in Southern Utah that is not very good. So my final score prediction at UC Davis Health Stadium at 10:36 p.m. this Saturday night, UC Davis 49, Southern Utah
Cool.
24.
I love everything you said. I definitely think the guys are going to come out ready to play. I think having a bye week is also super underrated. I know we touched on that lightly, but having just giving you rest, sleep in your own bed. I know Ari mentioned it too, just kind of going your own routine. So I think the team is going to come out rest, refresh, having film on them. So I'm with you. Of course, I think Davis is going to win, but I just feel like these games have been kind of weird. Southern Utah's
Yeah.
always been a weird game. So
Yep.
I'm really feeling that they're going to score points, and so are we. And we called out some of those keys, but I think it's going to be closer. I think it's going to be more of a 34-28 game where it's going to come down to a final drive. Having, one of the Porter brothers have a turnover, have Caden Bennett go down, score on a drive. That's really what I'm thinking is going to happen here. It's going to be a closer game, but Davis is going to pull it out.
Well, and I kind of got excited. And sometimes when you get excited in life, it doesn't help things. And so I was saying earlier, like, this is going to be close. We both think it's going to be close, right, Nick? And then I say, like, oh, we're going to beat him by 25. I think the reason why it could be close, to go back to your prediction, is because of Bronson Barron. I think
Yeah.
he's just a gamer. I think he already did it with Weber State. Yeah, and he had the weird FBS thing not work out, but being back in a conference that he's familiar with, or at least in a game he's familiar with, they'll be in the Big Sky next year. I think he could be the X factor that keeps him around, but the hope is our defense neutralizes that. Folks, don't go anywhere. We have two pretty fantastic interviews, unique interviews. We wanted a youngin, and Nick was like, let's try to talk to like Drew Cofield or Carter Vargas. Like, I don't know anything about those guys. So we got Carter, and I got to spend some time with him earlier today. So stick around for that interview. And then, really, one of the lifebloods of the program who keeps things going in the equipment room, not only for the football program, but for the entire athletic department, assistant AD Ari Osier is going to be joining us too. So stick around. And Nick, I'll see you on Saturday, dude.
Sounds good, man.
All right.
UC Davis football stands for tradition, teamwork, and having each other's back, especially when times get tough. That's why we're proud to partner with Bold, Paulsner, Maddow, Nelson, and Judson, a respected California law firm with over 55 years of experience helping families and businesses prepare for life's unexpected turns. Whether you're navigating estate planning, probate and trust matters, civil litigation, or elder law, the team at BPM&J offers clear, compassionate guidance through California's legal landscape. BPM&J is deeply rooted in Aggie pride. The firm is led by Craig Judson, a double UC Davis alum, and the Sacramento office is supervised by his son, Scott Judson, former Aggie Pack MC and past president of the UC Davis Cal Aggie Alumni Association. 4 other attorneys in the firm are also proud Aggies. From starting a family to managing assets or honoring a loved one's legacy, Scott, Craig, and the BPM&J team are here to help with confidence, care, and compassion. Their services include estate planning, such as wills, trusts, and powers of attorney, incapacity and elder law planning, probate and trust administration and litigation, conservatorships and guardianships, and general civil litigation. With offices in Walnut Creek and Sacramento, BPM&J serves clients throughout California. Visit bpmnj.com to schedule a free consultation. And this season, listeners of the Aggie Pride podcast will receive an exclusive $500 discount on the preparation of a comprehensive estate plan. Just mention the podcast when you book your free consultation with either Scott or Craig. Please note this message does not constitute legal advice. For personalized guidance, contact BPM&J directly. The firm's attorneys are licensed only in California. Bold, Paulsner, Maddow, Nelson, and Judson. Powered by Aggie Pride.
Bank like a champion when you bank with University Credit Union. UCU is the official credit union of UC Davis and is committed to giving every UC Davis student, faculty, staff, and alum a financial advantage. From low loan rates and financial coaching to high savings rates, including our new Elite Certificate Special, University Credit Union helps you reach your financial goals. Visit ucu.org for details. Use promo code Aggie Pride Podcast to get started. University Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA.
We've got a new home for Aggie Pride, a UC Davis football podcast. Visit AggiePridePodcast.com. It's the hub for everything. All our episodes, ways to subscribe for early access, and our brand new Aggie Pride Classic hats in navy or beige. While you're there, sign up so you never miss an update, and follow us on all our socials for game day content, throwbacks, and behind the scenes. And don't forget, like, follow, and share the pod so we can keep growing the Aggie fan community.
So, Nick, before she joins real quick, okay, here we go. Welcome back to Aggie Pride, a UC Davis football podcast. I'm Brock Galvin, and I'm joined by my newish co-host. He's been on the thing before. Nick King is here. What's up, Nick?
Hey.
And we have a pretty cool guest today. She gave me a little bit of crap after I had Scott Marsh on for the Lake Tahoe, like, kind of release episode. She sent a message like, hey, what's up? So you know who I'm talking about, people, because she is definitely the queen of all things equipment in not only the UC Davis world, but I would say like a pioneer for the college football landscape as well. It's none other than Ari Osier. Hey, Ari, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Well, this is fun. We'll just hang out for a bit and kind of get to know you. If you've listened to some of these on maybe a drive or two to some of the away games, you know that historically we kind of like people to give their football story. And, you know, Nick and I are like try hard defensive linemen from the yesteryears of UC Davis. So we do our research. So we know your story, at least like what we've read and some of the things that the department has done throughout the years. But I really want to hear, like, where did your interest for football start? And like take us all the way up until how you landed at UC Davis. We know you were at, I won't say all the schools, but you were at some schools we're very familiar with. So take us on that journey as little or as much as you'd like.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up a Denver Bronco fan because my dad, my dad is from Denver. And they won the Super Bowl the year I was born. So he, like, I was a newborn baby, like 3 days old. He came out screaming. My mom's like, shut up. Like, so I think I was born to be a football fan. I always watched football growing up, always been a Broncos fan. I used to call John Elway my dad, and Peyton Manning my dad, like religiously around the house, where I accidentally called Peyton Manning dad to his face when I met him in 2015. Probably top most embarrassing moment. And then was always just around football. In high school, I was like a stat girl is what they called it. I think I did stats like total of 2 times the 2 years I did it, but we mostly did, like, we were responsible for uniform collection and distribution every week. And then we filmed at practice and we did like ankle taping and wrist taping. And I knew that I didn't like film and I didn't like being an athletic trainer because I could not take that much science. So I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. Knew that I wanted to work in sports, didn't know where or how. Applied for Cal Poly, and I went to Cal Poly SLO for undergrad, and I got a job in the equipment room as a ball crew before I even went to school. So they're also on the quarter system, and I worked 2 football games before I even moved into my freshman dorm. Made my mom drive me up there and stayed in a hotel to work the games because I knew I wanted to work that bad. And then that's kind of all I did at first. I saw my boss and like how busy he was all the time at games, and he just kind of seemed like he was running around with his head cut off. So I was like, hey, can I help? Like, I'm interested in more. I want to do more. How can I do more? And then didn't leave the equipment room after that day ever. I just fell in love with it. I worked a few other jobs in athletics, and I just didn't like anything else as much as equipment, like that passion and that spark that I had. And I spent every waking minute outside of class in the equipment room. And then graduated during COVID in 2020 in undergrad, and luckily had a graduate assistantship before COVID kind of really hit. So I got a graduate assistantship at Illinois State, and I was there for 2 years before landing my first role at UC Davis. And that's kind of my football journey to this point.
All right. Well, I'm just curious, going from Cal Poly, I don't know where you're originally from, but then going to Illinois State, but how was that transition? Was it a little bit of culture shock? What was that transition, especially with COVID too?
Yeah. I was gonna go anywhere I could get an equipment role. Like that was the only goal I had getting out of college was where can I work in equipment? Bonus that I got my master's paid for while I was at Illinois State. And I am a first time undergrad student and also the first time to receive a master's degree. So that was super important to me. Education was very important to me. It was a big culture shock moving to Illinois. Um, I'm from Southern California originally, so always been around warm, beachy weather. And then during COVID, it was really hard too. Obviously, we played, I think we played 4 games in the winter of 2021. Practicing, we didn't have a bubble at the time. They have a bubble now, of course, after the California girl leaves. So we practice outside. We've had 110 practices before we ever played a football game. And we practice outside in negative 20-degree wind chill. I would just be pink all day. My skin would be pink. It was horrible, but I learned so much so fast. Just had to wear a lot of hats while I was there. And my boss taught me so much while I was there. So even though it was a struggle, I met great people. I really enjoyed my experience in grad school.
I don't really know how to phrase this question, but Nick and I know what it's like to be a part of the program as football players. I remember Joe, I remember Kevin Grant. Those were a couple of the equipment guys when Nick and I played. And I remember seeing those guys every day and having a good relationship with them and being able to shoot the breeze and joke around with one another and also pester them for our dirty gear and that sort of things because things were a little different back then. But I guess I'm just interested because it seems like you love it so much already. What is it like being a part of the team on your end of things? Your interactions with the players, your day in and day out. I don't know, what you enjoy about it, what it's like for you. I mean, I already kind of get a sense it's really busy, but just kind of put us in your shoes for a day or for a season and what it feels and looks like and smells like to be an equipment manager. I said smells. You don't have to tell us what it actually smells like because we know it ain't good.
Actually, I broke my nose. I played high school soccer, and I broke my nose in soccer, and I never got it fixed, so I can't smell. And I don't think I'd be an equipment manager if I could smell. It's probably best perk of not being able to smell. So I don't get the smells. If I can smell, it's really horrible. My intern will always say, that's not good if Ari can smell it. So, yeah, I going to Cal Poly. I always looked up to Davis. The culture and just something about it was different. I wouldn't say I went to Cal Poly for the athletic department. I went because I wanted to go to school there. Davis was always somewhere I was excited to travel to as a student. I was always excited to play them. It just had a different culture, had a different it's not really something you can put on words. Until I learned what Aggie Pride was, you can't put it into words. And I when this job was going to come open, I was talking about it and I was manifesting it. That's my job. Even before I knew it was going to be posted, I knew it was going to be open. I was talking to everyone in my family. That's my job. My friends knew, oh, Ari's going to work at Davis 3 months prior to me getting the job. I knew this was where I was going to be. So I always looked up to Davis and knew that that's the place I wanted to end up, my dream job, so to speak. And yeah, I guess being an equipment manager is very different than being a football player. Very different, obviously. And I've never played football, so I can't say I know exactly what it feels like to put pads on, put a helmet on, though we do sometimes in the equipment room. Um, my day is very busy, very busy. Especially during camp. Like if you're the washer, I always tell my staff, the washer's not running, we're wasting time. Like you're doing something wrong. It's got to be nonstop all the time on. Um, and I'll be like, guys, that's 45 minutes. Like you just wasted 45 minutes of the day if you don't get it in. But yeah, just very busy all the time. I try to have a good open door policy. Like I love when the student athletes are in the equipment room. I love getting to know their stories. So I love working in intercollegiate athletics, being a part of that environment. I try to make it as more fun of a place as it can be. But sometimes I do have to say, hey, I'm busy. Like when Zaire comes in to shoot the shit, I gotta be like, dude, you gotta leave. Like if it's not serious, we can do this tomorrow. I got stuff to do. But yeah, very busy.
It would be Zaire. It would be.
Oh, it's always Zaire. It's always Zaire. I love that kid. I love him to death. But he knows like he'll come in and he'll ride his bike. He likes to just cause chaos in the equipment room on purpose. Like the other day, he just moved my entire box of Sharpies just because he wanted to, like just to stir something up. But he'll know, like I'll look at him and be like, Zaire, not today, not today. He'll be like, okay, I'll come back tomorrow. I'll see you tomorrow. Yeah.
Hey, Ari, I had a question for you. You mentioned Aggie Pride. You said that that really kind of you gravitated toward the program and that really impressed you. I came to practice a couple weeks ago and and you mentioned your interns. I saw like a group of people that were on kind of every station, kind of helping everything out. And so it seems like, and I was reading the article about you as well, is that you really open the doors for inclusivity. I mean, obviously the focus is you being an amazing equipment manager and assistant AD, which I'd love to go into, but there's also, you mentioned first generation. So you're opening a lot of doors for people and setting the example. So I'm trying to tie kind of what does Aggie Pride mean for you and kind of the position you are?
I mean, I'm not me without my staff. I can't do everything that I can do in a day without the people behind me and the people making it work. And I've really grown that program since I've gotten here. When I got here, I had one student and my intern. We now have 10 students, and I have an intern, and I have a part-time assistant with football too. He has other responsibilities in other sports too, but being a part of that growth and just seeing the room, getting people to fall in love with football and fall in love with UC Davis athletics the way that has been really fun. I get students who they don't know what down and distance is. They don't know what hash is. They don't know. I got to teach them from the ground up. So getting them to fall in love with football is really fun. And I think that's part of what my Aggie Pride is the growth of this place. It's just tremendous in the last few years since I've been here even. And to have it as a place that I already strove to be at and then like make it something better has been awesome. But to me, it's just like the people and the place. There's, like I said, no words. You can't really put words into it. It's the people, the place, the dedication, the love everyone has for one another, but the love everyone has to do their job and do their job really well. Even from the person who has to deal with the disgusting sights and sounds that I do, and like down to the athletic training staff, down to the video staff, like everyone just takes their role and really gives it their all and really is passionate about it and cares about the student athletes in a way that every program I've ever been at has not been that way, as much as it is here. And just like working with Plow, who also is just about all of those things that I am so important to me and so important to so many people that we work with, and seeing how much people care about people. Like everyone always asks me what my favorite thing is about Davis, and it's the people. Always the people.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like we both can feel the passion and the almost like the care for your craft, which people got different jobs, right? And some people like their job is just a means to an end, or it's something that they maybe don't exert as much of themselves into. And so just like with that in mind, I wonder about how you are even handling like because sometimes when you have so much sense of ownership with your job, it's hard to like let go of it, or it's hard to balance it, especially when I think about the start of this specific season where you had like back to back to back road games and really far trip and then just different challenging trips. I know when I talked to you on the sidelines at Washington, I'm like, how's the trip been? And you're like, man, I wish all of them were like this. So just kind of walk us through, I guess, the start of this season, like how the traveling has been for your team specifically, how you feel like it's going, however many years into this you now are.
Yeah, like I said, I've grown the staff, so things have gotten easier for me and my staff, just because of that alone. And the beginning of the season was particularly rough. I've only have 3 veteran students, so that's the least I've ever had in the growth that I've had. So there's a lot of people who we had to teach, and you can't really explain what we do on a game day. You can't really explain travel. Like I tried to tell them, I could tell you literally exactly what I think is going to happen, and then none of that is going to happen. So I'm going to just let you live it. Like I'm going to let you breathe it. And then when you have a question, no question's a stupid question. Like I'll take every question you got. Try to have as much patience as possible, which is hard when you're in Alabama and it's hot and they put you in the wrong coach's box and don't know where to put the bus. And like, it's always trying to find a solution. But I always tell people if I didn't love my job, I wouldn't do my job, because you have to love working in equipment. You have to love working in sports to be able to do it, to find the passion to do it, and especially to teach people how to love it too. Uh, yeah, I do wish every trip went like Washington. Washington was like a breeze. Like I was like so happy and so light and so airy, because until obviously the way the game went. But the trip and the travel and the like logistics, that's like my game day, is kind of how I always tell Paul, like that's my game day until kickoff is when I got to work. So I feel like that went really, really smoothly. Alabama was a hot mess. Like
Well, I'm interested in that. Like my initial gut reaction is, well, Washington went well because they're in the Big Ten and they are hella rich. Jimmy Kunkel, shout out, hates it that I say hella on the podcast. Hella rich, and maybe like the logistics are just dialed because the staff is huge. And is that it partly? And like the FCS kickoff was a neutral site game, so there's not even a home site. Like, why do you think Washington was easy and the others were difficult?
the first game is always hard. Like no matter what, even if we played UW first, it still probably would have been hard. But most of the time it dials down to the FBO that we travel into. So if the FBO hasn't had as much experience with football teams, then they kind of like, whoa, when you get there, and they don't know what to do with you, and they don't know how to operate. As much as like our Allegiant reps and stuff try to make that all seamless for us, if they're not used to it, it's like you're I don't know. I felt like I was at a zoo, like they were just staring at me. So they didn't have a belt when we landed, and like we took everything with us on the plane, because if we didn't, then the truck would have to go straight to Utah Tech, and that, like, we don't operate like that. We can't do that. So we just all decided to just take the stuff on the plane with us, and then they don't have a belt, and we have 11,000 pounds of equipment underneath the airplane. And it's just like we're just like holding it out of the sky. So yeah, I think the neutral site, they just didn't care either while we were there. They didn't have answers to our question. They're not like, they don't host football games. They host high school football games. So I think that factors into it too. But regardless of where you play, the first game is always hard. You're ironing out all the kinks.
Hey, Ari, as Brock mentioned, we played in yesteryear. I was just with some of my 2013 guys, and it's crazy that it's been that long already. And as I'm sure every old guy tells you, we had one jersey, one helmet. I'm looking at it right now. You can probably see in the background right now. I mean, Davis has so much swag. And obviously, I'm crazy jealous. I think we all are, but I'm curious to know, how do you manage all of that? What's kind of the day to day? Because like I said, Davis, we didn't have to choose our colors. Didn't have to choose our helmets, our cleats, gloves, anything like that. So I'm sure that's a lot more to keep account of, sizes, all just the logistics of that. I would love to learn a little bit more about, like, hey, when you have that type of volume, what is the impact for you and the team?
Yeah. Organization, always. Like you have to be the most organized, dialed person to work in equipment, because it comes down to organization and time management. We have a lot of stuff moving in and out of the equipment room every single day. Even when we just switch, like we're wearing gold helmets this weekend instead of wearing, we were wearing navy 2 weeks ago. So I'm like a stickler for how many times they practice in them before we play on Saturday. I think it's really important that they're in the helmet that they're wearing on Saturday, so they get used to it. Or if we fix something, they can say, "Hey, I don't like the way my chin strap's fixed since you like replaced it," or whatever case is. everything is player specific too. So almost every single thing has a number on it, has a label on it, so that we can track the things coming in and out. And then Teamworks has been kind of like the giant hub, and they're kind of like a monopoly on athletics now. So they have our inventory system that we use. So everything is in that, and it tracks it for the person. So I can see, like, if it's the player's fifth time coming to get gloves that season, I'd be like, dude, I gave it to you, and like I have receipts. So I can be like, no, not this time. Like, you'll get your game gloves at the end of the season. But it's mostly just organization and making sure that I'm on top of it, and then having all the policies and procedures for my staff to also do the same things, so that they can easily pick it up, and it's not like it's going to get messed up or anything.
Nick, I don't know where. Maybe you need to hold off on one moment here, because this is the Tahoe moment, and then Nick's got a follow up to the Tahoe moment. So, we got a handful of questions more. Don't worry, but this all kind of came about, and I noticed like someone else. I think when we played South Dakota in the playoffs, Dwight and I hung out with the guys who do their podcast, and a couple of them played for South Dakota, and one of them's just a super fan, and they ended up having their equipment director
Oh, nice.
on, and I was
Nice.
like, "Oh, we want to do that too." So this has been in the works, but you really put gasoline on the fire when you fired back at us, like, I need to be breaking this news on the pod, and which I love it, and so I do want to hear like the Tahoe. Yep, well done, Nick, for the Spotify, YouTube viewers. Check out Nick King's swag. Nick King, so his wife told me when I dropped off our Aggie Pride hat, is the king of swag. That's an aside. But like you are the queen of swag for UC Davis athletics and football specifically. So how did this Tahoe thing come to be? What was like your involvement in it, or your input in it? And like, when can we expect to see these unis in the flesh this year?
The Tahoe like idea is really Rocco's idea. Like, he came up with it. He said, "How can we make this happen?" So it was more of my job to make it come to life with Danielle Shank as well. So she got the logo and stuff, and we decided what color was going to work. I actually designed all the fall sport uniforms by myself. So football, volleyball, men's and women's soccer. That was all me. And then we have 4 more sports that will have more uniforms, and then I've worked on those in conjunction with the coaches, head coaches of those sports. And I mean, football, I always get like, that's my baby. I get to always design it from top to bottom. Like, and that one was like, let's do something us. Like, it still has the same kind of features and all the stuff that we normally do, but like make it a little different, and a little flashy, because the color is flashy. It's bold aqua. And getting to do that, I was working on it when we were in South Dakota. Like, I've been working on it since last September, since Rocco pulled me on the side of a plane and said, "I want to do this." So I've been working on it for a really long time, kept my mouth shut for a really long time, worked in like behind closed doors, and my students and my staff would be like, "What are you doing?" And I'd be like, "Go away." Like, I can't tell you, can't show you. And it was really hard to keep it quiet, but I got to go to the photo shoot when we were in Tahoe, and watching Rex and Sam's face when I pulled it out of the garment bag. They're like, light blue. Like, they thought for sure it was going to be gray. So why don't we come to Tahoe if it's gray? Like, we're not unveiling gray for everybody. That was a really cool experience, and we will be wearing them when we play Weber State on the 27th. So we're gonna kind of like, football is gonna kick off the Tahoe games, and then all the other sports have their Tahoe game following after that.
And that's amazing. All right, I mean, I think it's a genius idea. It's great. I mean, I know you said you're from LA. Brock and I are Bay Area kids, grew up in Marin County, going to Tahoe every weekend I could get. I know you being in Sacramento now. I mean, just such an important part of California and the Bay and the story. of Davis. I mean, most people stop in Davis, go to Tahoe. There's all these connectivity. So the idea that we're doing it is amazing, and capturing kind of, that's really what the community is about. So I'm so excited to see this. As you can tell, as soon as Plow told us, I was like, I got to get this. So I know there's going to be a bunch of people lined up to get the swag, and super excited for it, and glad that you really got to design it. So thank you.
Yeah, definitely an honor. And we were the Tahoe Environmental Research Center that we worked in collaboration with to make the logo. They actually were a big part of designing the actual logo itself and wanted it to look that way. They are the first ever university research center in Tahoe. So we did already stake our claim.
Yeah, we all saw the Jeff Choate video, the Nevada coach who kind of gave his big necked version of why he thinks that we shouldn't, which, hey, praise God for people with large white necks. Nick King is one of them. Back in the day, I had a large white neck. Anyways, don't come after me, Jeff Choate. I swear, don't come after me. The point is, I will say this too. ABC reporter in Sacramento reached out to us and was like, hey, we'd like an official statement. And that was really the moment when we knew we've made it as a podcast. We're getting asked to give input. But Dwight and I like just shared text messages back and forth. We're like, I don't really know what to say, dude. Like, what do you want to say? I don't know what to say. And then we have kids and lives, and we got so busy that like a month later, we're like, oh shoot, we never even responded to that person. So we missed our opportunity. But let's take it to, I guess, this weekend, and a little bit sure about like, hey, how's the week looking? How's the uniform combo coming together, that sort of thing. But like, how are you feeling about the team? You know, it's been like 3 very distinctly unique games. One of them didn't count, apparently. One of them was against Utah Tech, who won 1 game last year, but has played everyone really close. And then we got the brakes beaten off on it. I don't know if that's a phrase, at Washington, but they're scary, obviously. We both saw it in the flesh, and it just was a tough one. So how are you viewing this season now that we've had a moment to breathe and we're heading back home for the first time, both as a team and then for your team as well?
I mean, boy, I'm glad to have a home game. Like, I'm glad to be sleeping in my own bed this weekend and not have to worry about packing the truck. And we when we got back from Utah Tech, we had to unload the truck and repack the truck in the same day to get it going out. So to Washington. So I'm happy to be home. I think that the open week, bye week, whatever you want to call it, came at the perfect time. Like, everyone's burnt out from being around each other, burnt out from doing, the grind every single day. So I think that the bye weekend came at a great time, and I think everyone's rested and ready, like rested and ready to go, ready to play, ready to work. My students are excited to be at a home game. And this weekend, with the orientation game, like, there's gonna be so many people there and so many fun things. So I think it's gonna be a great environment, and everyone's just excited. I think everyone's ready to rock.
Yeah, I'm kind of a weird transition, but you mentioned kind of deciding some of the Tahoe uniforms, the different colors. You mentioned, I think you said we're wearing gold helmets. I'm curious, like, do captains decide that? Does Plow decide that? What's kind of the agenda for it? Or how is that?
We're wearing gold helmets this weekend, this Saturday, not with the Tahoe uniforms. So I don't know if that white, we'll wear white with Tahoe. But I sit down with Plow in the summer at some point, and he hates talking about this kind of stuff. Like, he just wants to focus on the guys, focus on the football. Like, as much as I can, as little as I can bother him as possible is my goal. Like, and that's my goal with the student athletes too. Like, I want them to just worry about playing football and coaching football. That's all I care about. And so I sit down with Plow and we kind of just like talk through it. We have a few things this season that the players got to decide and got to plan for. So it was figuring out when we wanted to unveil those things. We didn't schedule the Tahoe game. Like, it was like, what makes the most sense. So we figured that one out. And then Plow has like, we have our classic gold, blue, gold look that like, we play those, we wear those during certain games. We're always going to wear that, our home opener. We're always going to wear that when we play Sac State or Cal Poly at home. Like, some of those things are more concrete. And then we have the things that the guys just like to wear a lot. So we kind of stick to that one. And make a schedule. And then he only cares about what the other team's wearing, like, helmet wise. Obviously, as a quarterback, like, you want to make sure it's distinctive and contrasting. So that's the only thing like we usually would change week of if it's similar to the other team.
Yeah, that's cool. And I think with that, like you figuring out the different types of jerseys and stuff like that kind of made me think of, you said that, hey, this is my game day. We're getting everything ready up. I think you already alluded to it. It sounded like you have some challenges. Do you have a specific memory where, hey, this is everything went to shit? Do you have a kind of worst case scenario that you tell your interns, like, this is when bad happens? Is there something that comes to mind?
I didn't have that until this year, like until Alabama. And like I said, I only had 3 vet students. I got to take 1 extra person there. So I had 7 students with me, and I just looked at them every time something would happen and say, this is not normal. Like, don't get used to this. This is not normal. This is not how we operate. We don't do things like this. Like, this is not normal. So that will always forever be my worst case scenario. Like I said earlier, we got to the FBO and we had brought everything with us. They had no belt. So we're just like flinging things out of the sky. I think at one point I looked at the grounds girl and I was like, this is $400,000 and it's not coming out of my paycheck. Is it coming out of yours? So like, we need to be very careful with this. It's Alabama, so it's hot and muggy and humid. We got to the field on game day and like we only had half of the locker room on Friday. So we set up half, we had to set up the other half on Saturday. We get to the field and we're setting up the coach's headset system, and we were the visiting team, but they put us on the home sideline. So they put us in the visiting box, but the home sideline is wired for the home box. So we really needed to be in the home box. Our headsets weren't working for 2 hours and no one could help me or tell me why. So then there's that. And then I was excited. We were playing well. Like, I was like, okay, I had a bad day up until this point. Like, we moved on. We're good. I got everything like set for kick and we're fine. We can play a football game. And no one's the wiser. Like, no one ever knows that these things are going on, right? And then the lightning delay. And I've been through lightning delays before, working in the Midwest. Like, we have those all the time. And I was like, we're going to play. Like, we're going to play. Like, I can't not play the rest of this game after all of this. So that was an experience, and like having my students, as soon as like it was like we were all waiting for the word, whether it was, okay, let's go get ready to restart warmups and like get some routes on air and get this stuff going and rolling for us to get back and play the rest of this game, or do we need to clean all this up at the drop of a hat, not in the process that we normally do things. So it was like, okay, we're like waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. And then finally, like, I think Rocco told me. I don't remember who told me, but I think it was Rocco. And Rocco who told me, and he was like, grab a jacket. And like, I grabbed my rain jacket and I grabbed 4 of my students and grabbed them rain jackets. I was like, we gotta go. We gotta clean up the rest of the field, tearing down like the lightning rod of the coach comm system and stuff. Yeah. That was, I think, worst case scenario. Like, I will always forever remember that as worst case scenario.
I think we all will, right? I mean, that sounds like chaos from the start to the end, and to say, hey, it never happened. But it sounds like you're accustomed to overcoming adversity, whether, like you said, it's missing equipment, lightning storms, things like that. And so thinking about you're managing all of this, managing your interns, and then you shared with us that you also got this new title in January, assistant AD. How does that look with your current job and your current role? I'd love to learn a little bit more about what that looks like in this new position.
So I don't just do football. I have 5 other sports. So we have in the Hickey equipment room, we have men's and women's water polo, swim and dive, field hockey, and lacrosse. I'm personally the first team contact for all those sports minus women's water polo and lacrosse. That's always the intern's role in the equipment room. And then we have the other equipment room right in Hickey, which I'm sure that you are all like familiar with that. What a lovely equipment room. Like, so ginormous. So yeah, they have the other 19 sports over there, and it's been fun figuring it out, like all the challenges. Obviously, the off season, it was a lot easier for me to dedicate more time to spending in that other equipment room and like getting the processes and getting the things in place that I wanted to do, especially with the kind of like transition from BSN, from Adidas Direct to BSN. That was a process. So getting those things in place has been kind of a difficulty and always a challenge. But like I said, I love my job, and a lot of it is to find all those solutions and find all those teamwork and stuff to get things done. Like, it's never boring, and that's definitely one thing that keeps me going.
Well, I want to close us with something that, I just noticed on Twitter or X when we were doing our midnight research, which is this organization, Athletic Equipment Managers Association, but then the account, the women of the AEMA, and that's something that was referenced in the UC Davis Athletics article that came out, I believe, in spring of this year. And, we talk about just the difference between being in the program as football players like Nick and myself, and then yourself and your role. But then there's like this other layer of being a female in the space, and like you shared about like kind of your upbringing and like your love for football at a young age. But I'm just interested, like, what is it like being one of the few? What has it been like being a part of that organization? Like, it seems like you stay in touch with other women in the field as well. Enlighten Nick and I, because we've been involved with equipment managers who were guys who we played with and that sort of thing. And I think it is a really like powerful experience to like have someone of the opposite sex and like be able to have that be a part of the program. I think is really powerful too. So kind of share that for us.
Yeah, the equipment professional organization is awesome, and everything that they're doing to like make equipment taken more seriously and raise the professionalism in that industry is awesome. So I am equipment manager certified, which just kind of gives me an extra layer and knowledge and expertise and says like, yes, I know what I'm doing. Had to take the horrible test in freezing testing room to get that done. And yeah, the women have a group me chat, and we throw questions in there all the time. So I love bouncing ideas off fellow people in the equipment profession, and like no one understands like all the random and weird stuff that we have to do. No one understands except for each other. So leaning on them is really important, and getting just like feedback, or even like we got dropped by our nameplate vendor. Well, not dropped, but they wanted to charge us like an exuberant amount of money. So I was trying to figure out how we could do it more affordably, and we decided we could do it with repo graphics like on campus. So I just like shot it to everyone. I was like, hey, like if you're looking for a quick fix, like don't not look in house. You might be able to do it on campus and get the same product. So I'm definitely grateful for that. And then being a woman in the space is, I mean, it's always a challenge. There's always the random things, but I am grateful to be at Davis where it doesn't really come up very often, in a way that I'm aware of consciously. And I get to just do my job. And the boys are respectful. The student athletes are respectful. All my women's teams love it. They think it's the coolest thing ever. Like the lacrosse girls they're like my biggest fans. So I feel like it's growing, and I think it's really important, especially at Davis when you have such a high percentage of female students that go to school there. So that's a majority of my staff because it's a majority of the people that go to Davis. So showing them that it's not the only thing you can do in sports too. Like I try to get them into the other doors of like, hey, this is the communications department. This is the ticket office. Like there's if you don't like this, there's this. And I think just pushing that agenda, getting more women in the sports world is really important, and it's really important to me. But thankfully, I don't think about it every day.
Yeah. Well, thank you for not only saying yes to the podcast, but yeah, for what you do. I think it's been encouraging to me, and I know Nick and myself take our 9 to 5 jobs seriously. But the thing that I'm going to remember about this time is just your attention to detail, your professionalism, and your passion. And that's something that we all need like in the workspace. But it definitely, like I said earlier, it comes out so clearly. So thanks again for hanging out with us. We're looking forward to hopefully some dope uniform combos, and hopefully very minimal delays, weather, airplane issues, tarmac belts, whatever the heck it is. So best wishes the rest of the season, and we'll see you again soon.
Thanks, Brock.
We've got a new home for Aggie Pride, a UC Davis football podcast. Visit AggiePridePodcast.com. It's the hub for everything. All our episodes, ways to subscribe for early access, and our brand new Aggie Pride classic hats in navy or beige. While you're there, sign up so you never miss an update, and follow us on all our socials for game day content, throwbacks, and behind the scenes. And don't forget, like, follow, and share the pod so we can keep growing the Aggie fan community.
I'm joined today by number one, Carter Vargas. Carter, what's up, man? How you doing?
What's going on, man? It's nice to meet you guys.
Yeah, nice to meet you too. I'm a solo crew today. Dwight, who normally does this with me, is traveling abroad. He's actually in Africa at his wife's home country in Ethiopia. So holding down the fort while he's out, but I feel like it's fitting timing. You had one of the kind of few like real big impact plays against Washington, even watching that play back on social, which the team always does a good job putting out content, and just seeing like the dynamic nature of that specific run. It kind of just leads us into getting to know you. And I feel like I want to start with just your most recent kind of, I guess, feelings coming off of the Washington game and after the bye week. So I guess just starting there, like, how are you feeling physically? How are you guys doing after the bye week and after that very physical Washington game?
Yeah, no, after that, Washington game, I think we all came together and, kind of said like, these next weeks are going to be very important. So we all took care of our bodies, on this bye week and did whatever we did to do off the field to, get our mind right on those 3 off days. I think after the game, we wiped the slate clean and are kind of ready to roll into league and to this next opponent.
Nice. Yeah, what did you do for bye weekend? Did you head home? Did you stay in Davis? Kind of what was that like for you to have some time off?
Yeah, no, it was really nice to have this couple days off. Personally, I didn't go home. I just
Okay.
kind of settled into my new apartment. So I was just decorating and moving in, getting everything settled here, these past few days have been nice.
Nice. I see the chair. Are you a gamer? That's kind of a gamer chair vibe, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a gamer chair for sure. I've been laid off since season started from the games, but in summer I was for sure a little gamer.
All right, well, let's have fun real quick. What are the college guys playing these days? What do you go to when you're playing a game?
Uh, me and a couple guys on the team, we like to hop on Warzone.
Okay.
But recently we ain't really been on, but we play some, NCAA every once in a while. Mostly Warzone for sure.
That was my childhood, man. I played NC2A with my buddies, and then it took a long hiatus, probably as you're growing up, and so just came back a year or two ago. Let's circle back to something we were talking about before we clicked record, which is where you're from, kind of like your upbringing, and really, I think the thing that I'm most interested is in looking at some of the offers you had and kind of, your stature, your bigger back, especially for what we have in the running back room. Like, how did you end up at UC Davis through your recruiting journey and through your career at St. Joseph's down there in Santa Maria?
Yeah, no, I think St. Joseph High School, I give him Coach Pep, all the praise for my recruitment process. And some things didn't go as planned, but I feel like ever since I met Plow and Kevin, they both been upfront with me, and Plow especially, done a phenomenal job of just giving me the blueprint to everything I want in this football stuff. And him being a mentor towards me has just helped me tremendous. And even before coming here, I really trusted him and Kevin to get me to where I want to go. So I think out of high school, of course, I had some bigger names or bigger logos, but when it all came down to it, I really just saw Davis for Davis and everywhere else for maybe a bigger logo. But I feel Coach Plow, Coach Burke, they had their true intentions with me as a player and person to develop me in both ways.
Yeah. And I think about, so I have family down the Central Coast, spend a lot of
Yeah,
time down there. Normally don't really make my way too much further south than
yeah,
slow. And so,
yeah,
and kind of looking at who you played in high school, you played some like North Los Angeles teams. So you guys had a crazy game against Newbury Park, I think your junior and
yeah,
senior year. But then you had a lot of the Central Coast teams like a Royal Grande and Lompoc and some of those programs that have good football. You guys are a Division II school, and yet you come up to Davis. And I don't know what Santa Maria is like, but Davis is a different vibe than a lot of other cities and places in California. So, what
hmm
has it been like living in the city of Davis and going to a school like UC Davis compared to like maybe what you were used to in high school and pre-high school?
yeah. Of course. Coming to Davis, I think it was definitely a little bit of an adjustment just because it's kind of a smaller area. And it's not like I came from a bigger, like big city or anything like that. But just, I think honestly, it's helped me though, just staying focused on what I came here to do and like to get a great education and to play football. Like, I think it's helped me tremendous to, not have all this excess noise or excess, you know, places to go, things like that. I think it's helped me, focus in on what I've really came here to do. So I think that it could be a good thing to some people or a bad thing to some people, but I looked at it as like I'm kind of on the quieter side. So I think for me it wasn't the hardest thing to get adjusted to,
Hmm.
with that.
Yeah, so transitioning to like on the field stuff, I mentioned like you're a bigger back for our running back room.
Yeah.
And even that run I talked about, or against Washington, where you're like hurdling a dude, which your huddle film's got a bunch of those in high
Yeah.
school, and
Yeah.
and then you're like making a quick cut to the outside, and then you're finishing a run physical. How would you describe yourself as a player, like your running style, or even like some running backs that you maybe try to emulate your game after?
Yeah. I think with like my statue, I really like to watch Bijan Robinson a lot.
Mhm.
With him being more of a taller back and a shiftier back, I really try to model my game definitely towards him with the way his body control and the moves he uses. I think I watch his film quite a lot. Try to model my game after him.
Yeah. And that makes me think of another guy who, isn't the shortest, but super balanced back. And this is a guy who you know well because you played with him last year. So, I mean, Land Larison, dude, and he was balling out in the first
Yeah.
preseason game before he got hurt. Like, what was it like for you being under his wing? I know it was only for a year, but just like kind of watching the way he went about his work and what did you learn from playing with Land last year?
Yeah, I think Land, I think I give him tremendous credit for my development. That was one of the things I was open minded to coming here to Davis was, sitting behind a guy like Land and developing and learning his habits and his routine that he sticks to, just seeing everything that he did to prepare himself for the game. It's definitely put uh sort of a it's definitely helped me develop as a player who's younger, looking up to him, seeing how he prepares for games and all the things he does.
Yeah. I'm thinking about just the strange start to the year, dude. Like we had the Mercer game on ESPN
Yes.
and how that thing ended, and you going up and over for the first touchdown of the season for our squad, uh and yet just that like weird feeling of like a tie, no contest deal. And then you have sandwiched in the middle, like a tough road game and a completely different, atmosphere that you guys
Yeah.
pull off a big comeback. And then obviously the Washington game, which was a struggle, and it's also a different caliber of opponent. So in looking back at those three games, like what have you learned about this team so far? kind of taking each of those into account.
Yeah, I think definitely with the first game, we were really excited to, go out there and play a road game far away from home and to, come back with nothing was a little disappointed, but I think we learned a lot about ourselves as a team, just the type of team we are. We're gonna play together as a team and, not point the finger at defense or at the offense for underperforming. And we're gonna gather around our guys and really just get together and play.
Yeah, and
And,
then if you
with the second week, yeah, with the second week, it was definitely it was a shock to us, but I think guys like Caden Pennick, gathering the team around and saying like he needs to do better or we need to do better here. We all gathered around and played as a team, the offense supporting the defense supporting the offense when they make good plays. I think that's what really kept us together as a team and really help us win that game ultimately.
yeah. And then in kind of now thinking about, it almost feels like a second season just with the bye week and you guys starting early and having that bye week so early. And yet you're going into a lot of really tough games. And you look at a schedule. I mean, I remember doing this even as a kid playing youth football. Like you look at a schedule and you're kind of like circling certain games, or you might mentally be thinking like, okay, I think we have that game. Okay, that game's going to be challenging. Even after the first few weeks, everything kind of gets shaken up in college football. The upsets and a team who you thought was like, even a team like Utah Tech, like they're 1-11 last year, and they're playing all these really good teams tight to start
Yeah.
this year. So, shift into this Saturday. You guys have your home opener. How are you feeling? Not anything like X's and O's wise yet, but just like how are you feeling about like playing a home game, getting some students at the game, and I would ask you like, what aspect of a home football game do you get the most excited about?
Yeah. I think what Plow, kind of preaches to us, it's like not really who we play, it's just like how well we play. So I think going towards every week, like whether it's a Utah Tech team or a Southern Utah team, we're gonna prepare the same way and kind of just see how well we can play and we kind of control the game. I think really, just with the first home game, it's definitely a little bit different to me. Or I guess, yeah, it could be different to me since last year I was kind of, redshirting. So I think I'm looking forward personally to just seeing the atmosphere for myself and taking it all in. And yeah, just seeing how many students can come gather around us for the first home game. It should be exciting.
Yeah, it's always fun, especially the first one. The students show out, and I think what we're all hoping is that it continues throughout the season. And kind of looking at this team now, Southern Utah specifically, I know you guys have already probably dug into a bunch of film. They've had some interesting results, and you have the experience, or we have the experience of having played them last year in Cedar City. But when you look at the film and turn on the tape, what stands out about them defensively? And, what are you looking to do coming into the game personally?
You know, they Southern Utah is what our coaching staff been telling us. They've always been a physical team, but we're gonna always stick to our process and we're gonna prepare like it's just another team. I think a big thing for this week is just the offense getting a good start, good early start, and letting it roll throughout the game and not coming out slow or coming out fast and then coming out slow the second half, just really keeping a clean slate throughout the game, try to apply pressure throughout the game.
Nice.
And for me this week, I think I just want to just be good, just have a couple explosives, just be happy with the win. I just want to come out the win.
Yeah. And you talk about like kind of that explosive plays. That's something that Coach Plow and I talked about at a practice
Yeah.
in fall camp. That was one reason why he said like Caden was going to be the starting quarterback because of his ability to make explosive plays. You've had some impact plays. You had some receptions against Mercer, and then we talked about last week against the Huskies. What do you think is the key for yourself with an explosive play? Is it vision? Is it like pre-snap stuff? Is it just being, like mindless during the play and just instinctual? What do you think kind of helps you create those chunk plays that I know the offense wants to hit on?
I think honestly, it really comes down to the preparation. Just knowing like it's not just a run here, it's where your linemen are going, where your linemen are working to double teams, just things like that. I think it's bigger than just a run play. And when you really know the scheme around it, that's when the explosives starting to happen because you could trust your teammates and your line that they're really gonna get to that second level and make you right. And I just think that's really where the explosives come off and just trusting your teammates, and not everyone's going to be a big one. But when that big one hits, you really got to be ready for it.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, we're gonna finish it with some fast fire, 2 minute drill, whatever you want to call it. So just hit some fun stuff. First thing comes to your mind, go for it. So pre-game meal, what's your go-to?
Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A. Okay, give me your Chick-fil-A order.
Chick-fil-A order. I go 2 spicy chicken sandwiches with a Diet Coke.
And are you
Plain.
and what's the sauce? You don't do sauce?
Barbecue. But you got to get them plain, no pickles.
No pickles. Oh man,
Yeah, no pickles.
You're missing out on that. One word to describe the running back room.
Tough.
Love it. Favorite class at UC Davis so far?
Art.
All right.
Yeah,
What's your major?
I'm undeclared right now, but I took a art class, and it was pretty fun to just see the variety of students that took the class and talk to them about different things, just get to know the community a little bit better.
Nice. Yeah, let's talk about your team. Who's like the teammate you've kind of gravitated towards the most?
Definitely my roommate, Damon Reister.
Damon
Me and
Reister.
him have been pretty close. Even before I was committed, when we took our visit, we really got close. He was one of the main reasons, why I wanted to come here too.
Nice. That quarterback room is loaded, man. So
Yeah,
many.
a lot of talent.
It's a lot of talent. How would you describe Coach Burke in a handful of words?
I think just a very tough love guy, and he's gonna help you no matter what. But at the end of the day, you gotta own your own development off the field and on the field.
Yeah, love it. And then this one's kind of just a different take, but we have, a lot of alums that listen and a lot of, players, former players, fans,
Yeah.
that sort of thing, but also like families. And it's
Yeah.
fun because we get to see people engage with like social media. And I've even seen like some of your family engage with that. So I just want to give you the floor to kind of like shout out anyone in your family, like impact they've had on your life, or, people that you feel like you want to give some shine to as we close it out.
I'd definitely say, shout out to my mother. I wouldn't be here without her. Just everything she sacrificed for me to get here. It's just a blessing to have her in my life. That's my only shout out on the test.
Love it. Well, good stuff, man. Well, thanks for hanging out for a little bit.
course.
Best of luck on Saturday. We're going to be rooting for y'all in what we feel is going to be an exciting game. So have a great time, and we look forward to seeing you somewhere down the road.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, guys.
And that's a wrap. Special thanks to Ari Osier and Carter Vargas for joining us, and of course to Nick King for filling in for Dwight. If you haven't already, make sure to like, subscribe, and share the podcast on all platforms. Reminder that we are on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. If you haven't already, make sure you're following us on Instagram specifically. That's our most active social media. UC Davis Football Podcast is the handle for that. We also have our UC Davis Football Pod handle for X, and that's where we do our live in-game updates. Until next time, go Eggs.